Today we're going to be answering the question, are the neurotypical people okay? Are they all right? Are they doing okay? Someone suggested this in my comments and I don't know if they were joking, but I was like, that's a great idea. So I'm going to respond to some posts that my husband has found of neurotypical people potentially not being okay, and maybe we'll dismantle some misconceptions about autism. Maybe we'll just have a bit of a laugh. So the first one is from the Evil Autism subreddit, which I react to sometimes. Are neurotypical people okay? Question mark, 3 exclamation marks. So what's it say? No more phobbing on the thumbnail. No more phobbing. PH. What is phobbing? The practice of ignoring one's companions or companions in order to pay attention to one's phone or other mobile devices. What does that have to do with autism? We'll find out. Let's find out and see Cardi B.
I got a great question from a reader that I wanted to answer for you on YouTube because I think it's super helpful. Okay, you ready? I have a few friends that have the terrible habit of looking over my head when we eat in a restaurant or are out at a social event. How do I get them to make more eye contact? The problem is here, how do you deal with people who look over your head or won't make eye contact? And this is super dismissive and rude. Like, there's nothing worse than, let's say that we were having lunch together and I was like, yeah, totally. It's basically looking over someone's head to see if there's someone better to talk to, right? Like scoping out the room.
Is it? Okay, so straight away, like, no, obviously that isn't the only reason that someone wouldn't make eye contact. A lot of autistic people don't like to make eye contact because it affects our concentration. It usually takes a lot of cognitive effort for an autistic person to continue looking at somebody. We have to be like, look at them, look at them, look at them. For some autistic people, it's even painful. To me, it's often a case of I'm either listening to you very, very well and picking up everything you're saying and maybe looking in another direction or staring you down, in which case I have to be highly conscious, otherwise my eyes will drift and then I'm probably not taking in what you're saying. I mentioned this before, but I got into trouble in high school. It's one of the only times I was shouted at by a particular teacher who had told everyone at the beginning of the class, make eye contact, you must stare at me the whole time. And this was a new teacher I'd never had before. After about maybe half an hour into the lesson, he screamed at me and said, your eye contact is appalling, and then made me stand up for another half an hour. And I was just so shocked because I'd been there the whole time, like, make eye contact with him, keep looking at him, and I thought I was doing a really good job. He was talking about stuff and moving around the room, and I think I was just looking at what he was talking about, and maybe my eyes were flickering around the room a lot. Autistic people just tend to take in a lot of information from our environment, so we may end up looking around a lot. I think we kind of often absorb the world in like snapshots more than other people do, and detail more than other people do.
It's a very simple one. If you have an overhead gazer, so let's say that we're sitting across the table.
If you have an overhead gazer.
Here we're at a bar and you're looking over my head. Here's what you do. You follow their gaze. So as you're talking or as they're talking, you go, oh, I thought you were looking over there. Were you? Oh, I thought you were looking at something else. And every time they overhead gaze.
If you were talking to an autistic person, that would be super, super, super distracting, and they absolutely would not be able to listen to a word you were saying. When I notice shifts in people's facial expressions, I feel like my brain then kind of zones in on that, and then I can struggle to, kind of hear what they're saying, which is another reason why making eye contact makes it more difficult for an autistic person to concentrate, because one, we're having to think consciously about maintaining that eye contact to some extent, but two, faces do a lot of stuff. They change. There's a lot of little bits of information coming from somebody's face, and it can be a lot for our brain to process. So if you start, doing all this, then yeah, the social situation is going to become way, way more confusing.
And see, they'll get so annoyed with you looking the other way and stopping the conversation that they'll stop overhead gazing. I want to bring up 2 more eye contact problems. The next problem that's sort of similar to this is that you're sitting with someone and they just won't make eye contact. So it's not that they're looking over your head, but maybe they're just looking down, or they're talking to you by looking out of the corner of their eye. So how you deal with this is you try to reward them when they do make eye contact.
No, it's like ABA therapy. You want to perform ABA therapy on your friends. This is a great video of tips. Like, what if somebody isn't autistic and they're just shy and they just don't want to look at you the whole time? Does it matter? Do you really have to be staring somebody down the whole time? I understand if somebody is on their phone, that can be annoying. I actually can find that really distracting if someone's doing stuff on their phone. If you weren't looking at me in the eye, I'd just assume that you were shy. I mean, I suppose there could be instances where you assumed somebody didn't like you. And this is where it would be really great if people were more educated about autistic people and more accepting that this world will have neurodivergence in it, and maybe not everyone is going to want to make eye contact with you, and maybe that isn't, always an insult. and because they don't like you, it doesn't necessarily mean they're an impolite person. Let's see where this is going.
You really struggle with making eye contact. So when they make eye contact with you, you really want to reward them for it. So the first solution here is to reward them with a smile. So when they do look up, give them a reassuring smile.
They were just like, again, that sounds like it would be information overload if the person you were talking to was autistic, or maybe just not love eye contact. And I mean, that isn't the end of the world, let's be real.
Or not, right? So you want to reward that behavior by saying, oh yes, I love it.
Imagine having to be conscious of rewarding your friends for their behavior or the people you're interacting with for their behavior in a conversation. I mean, that's just way too much information for me to compute if I was interacting with somebody, but it's just so strange. It's such a strange way to think about it. Like, worry about yourself, man. Why are you being so judgmental of another person's behavior? If you don't like them and you don't like the way they interact, then stop going out for meals with them. You feel like you have to train all of your friends. You have to do dog training to get all of your friends to behave in the way you want. That's a bit weird and controlling, and maybe you just need to find friends who love eye contact as much as you do and you can all smile at each other like this all night. I don't know.
That they're thinking about something else. So it's not just about social anxiety, but they're thinking about something else. Is that one other solution is you can pause until they look up.
I'll never speak to you again. That's it. I'll just sit in an indefinite, awkward silence. So now she's doing the punishment side of ABA. I'm just going to ignore you, which historically was a thing that they would do in ABA therapy. It was like, okay, if you do something that we like, we'll give you something good. If you do something that we don't like, we'll leave the room, or we just won't interact with you. So you kind of learn that you're not going to get approval from the people around you by doing certain things that we think you shouldn't be doing. It was all about normalization, basically, which is what this video is about. Like, even if eye contact is uncomfortable for you, even if it actually means you're taking in what I'm saying less, I would like you to do it because it makes me feel more comfortable. If you were worried about your friend not making eye contact, you could say, like, are you okay? Are you comfortable in this restaurant?
Continue when they look up, because you want them to make eye contact only when you're talking. So you can actually pause and wait for them to make eye contact, and then you continue. It's as if you're letting them think, and then when they're ready to come back to you with the eye contact, you continue. Last solution with this one is a little bit more direct, so use it very carefully, is if you're worried they're not making eye contact because they're upset about something or they're avoiding something, you can verbally say, is everything okay? You're just looking down a lot. Or is everything okay? I notice you're not looking at me. It's very direct, but if you think there's something festering...
To be honest, I'd prefer you being direct to you subtly trying to train me to behave in the way that you would want me to be. I do understand that if somebody said that to you in a direct way, it could make you feel uncomfortable because it makes you feel like you're being perceived, like somebody's really analysing your behaviour. A lot of autistic people might not even realise that we're not making eye contact. We're trying to be conscious of the conversation, that's why, because we're actually trying to listen to you, so we're not really thinking about what we're doing with our eyes necessarily.
It will help you make sure that you're getting the eye contact you deserve.
You do not deserve my eyeballs. I'm going off the video now. Yeah, someone starts doing any of that shit with me and I'm gonna find someone else to talk to. Yeah, particularly with those like fake smiles. Like, it just seems so false. What have we got next? We're on Reddit again. We're in the autism subreddit. In today's edition of Are the Neurotypicals Okay? This Autism Awareness Month, I will post a picture of me loving myself. I am not autistic in all caps, and I accept that. Neurotypical acceptance. It's giving all lives matter, and I accept that. I consider that as a reason to celebrate. Thank God for not making me autistic. Autism Acceptance Month. I feel like I need to spin around on my chair. I feel the urge to do a full spin. A spin of surprise. She shocked me. I had to whip round there. What? This is a family member of an autistic person. They're obviously aware of Autism Awareness Month. I hope it's not a parent of an autistic child. But as we saw in the video I did recently about parents of autistic children, they're not always autistic people's best friends. The top comment with 1.1k likes. Let's celebrate that she's not part of our community. Yeah. God might not have made her autistic, but he sure did make her ignorant. That's so strange. I want to know who that person is and why. What was the purpose of this? Well, thank God for making me not such a meanie that I would post something like that on Autism Awareness Month. And then they hashtagged the Autism Acceptance Month as well. Way to make autism seem like a negative, thanks. Okay, so we're on r/aspymemes, Are the Neurotypicals Okay? Experience what autism might be like with the Autism Reality Experience. Piecing their world together, Autism Simulator. Oh, it's UK! autismreality.co.uk. And it has some puzzle pieces diagnosis. I did do a reaction video to like the autism simulations that I found online. I think so many people clicked off so early that the YouTube algorithm decided not to push it out to anyone at all. So it's been one of my like worst performing videos ever because everyone was like, nah, I'm autistic enough. I don't need to double the autistic by watching an autism simulator. That's an interesting concept, the autism reality experience. I want to go in. I want to see what it's like. I also want a neurotypical reality experience. I mean, when I say that, I'm like, well, obviously it would be so varied, but of course that's also the case for the autism reality experience. Autistic people are also different from each other. I think those are supposed to be puzzle pieces on the side. They look a bit strange. If you want to know my thoughts on puzzle pieces, I did a video recently where I reacted to a bunch of puzzle piece tattoos. Not gonna lie, I want to try it. Let's see what life is like with double autism. Nobody wanted to try it. Nobody watched my video. Somebody put autism squared. I love that. Now you put on a VR headset and people start being mean to you for no reason. That was my experience in primary school. People telling me I was weird a lot and me being like, I just thought I was chilling. I just thought I was being a human. Didn't know I was being weird. Maybe now with my like adult awareness I would be able to tell why, but at the time I just didn't know, so I'll never know. I'll never know what I was doing. That was so weird. Yeah, but make sure there's someone who hangs around telling them to stop acting weird every second and is incredibly judgmental to anything they do. Yeah, there's been lots of times where I've been met with bemusement or just kind of like, what sort of glances when I feel like I'm having a perfectly normal interaction on my side, and it can be quite unnerving. Like I kind of feel like I'm being looked over, like looked up and down, I don't know, which I think is a lot of our reason for masking and why we sometimes really shrink into ourselves in social situations, because just being perceived as an autistic person doesn't always go down very well, unfortunately. But you know, hopefully things will keep changing. The next one, this preacher says autism is brought on by demons. Are we ready? No.
Very crucial. Someone has a physical infirmity and you cast that demon out. You might have to pray for some things to be fixed. Let's talk about one. Let's talk about autism.
Okay.
Rick, did you just go there? Yeah. Like I know.
So he knows what he's saying. It's silly.
A minister who has seen lots of kids that are autistic, that he cast that demon out and they were
Autistic?
and they were healed, and then he had to pray and their brain was rewired and they were fixed.
What would that look like? What would that look like for me? What would fixed me be like? And the thing that confuses me is, where do we draw the line? Because the neurotypical people in my life are not all the same. Everybody has their own stuff. Everybody is different. There is diversity in brains. That is why people are not all exactly the same. What does it look like to fix a person? And then where do you stop? Who else needs fixing then? Like anyone who's ever experienced depression? What happens? Where do you get to the perfect brain wiring? And who has that? And you can kind of see how it steps into this very kind of unethical way of thinking about like peak person. I don't know.
Yeah, I just went there. I mean, you can get online and see lots of examples of it.
So he's basically admitting he's just trying to be as controversial as possible. Okay.
It's not demonic, then we have to say God made them that way. Like that's the only other explanation. Why is my kid have autism? Well, either the devil's attacked them, he's brought this infirmity upon them, he's got them where he wants them.
The devil's got all the autistic people where he wants them in the evil autism subreddit. You know what? I'm making this guy's job too easy with the content I make. Whoops. I thought autistic people were angels anyway. That's the other narrative we get.
God just doesn't like them very much. Well, my God doesn't make junk. God doesn't make mess-ups. My
God doesn't make junk. I apologize on behalf of all religious people here, because this is obviously very bad representation of religion, because I'm sure this is not how the majority of people think. I will just say that and put that out there. Junk. You're really gonna call a whole group of people junk? Do you really think that that's a good idea, Mr. Sir? It's beyond even being worth responding to. You know, like the people we'd call neurotypical, they're not perfect. What about people who have physical disabilities? What about things like diabetes? If God makes no mistakes, why is there cancer? Is it always the devil? I suppose this is why you can't really argue with people, because they'd probably say, yeah, it's always the devil, or it's always a result of sin or free will gone wrong or something like that. Like you can't really argue with it. It's a test of faith. I just think, you know, life is not perfect. Human life is messy.
So let's quit being nice and putting a Band-Aid on stuff and giving it medicine And this goes so much bigger than autism, people. I just gave you that as an example.
And we didn't get to his conclusion of what we should do. Instead, I assume pray. We all pray, then it'll be all right. Yeah, I mean, if we found studies that imply that was the case, then fine. Someone said, I like how he decided what God can and can't do based on his own limited understanding of the entire universe and autism. Yeah, my autism literally manifests as a demon, not gonna lie. Someone said. Apologies that we had to sit through that together. That neurotypical person, not okay. So this one is NT, so neurotypical gets mad at tone tags. And this was from the r/r, the NT is okay. Somebody said /gen what? Then somebody said it's the genuine tone tag. Okay, so /gen means /genuine. I didn't know that. I'm still kind of learning about tone tags, but I really like them. I think it can be really, really helpful because I say a lot of stupid, sarcastic things as well. I really appreciate the clarity. We use them a lot on my Discord server. Bruh, that's dumb, someone said. Why? A bit patronizing, like the person you're talking to doesn't understand you. Then they said it's an accessibility tool, so it's still very patronizing. I think you can both see somebody as disabled and in need of help, but also not as an infant, also as a full person who deserves respect. And I think people struggle sometimes with seeing both of those things as true at the same time. I see tone tags as respectful. Like, I don't want you to misunderstand me. I don't want to upset you. So I'm going to make it really clear here that I'm joking. The more I use them, the more I appreciate it. But I understand, like, when you first hear about something, it can be a bit weird. Like, oh, we don't usually do that. That's strange. Human brains are usually a bit suspicious of new information, and it can just maybe take you time to wrap your brain around something, and you might have a bit of resistance. At first, I have resistance about learning new things all the time, but I think it's just like giving yourself time to get used to it, and then you might see the benefits of it. Yeah, your initial reaction might not be how you feel about something forever, if that makes sense. The answer at last. Well, how's life? Depression, the same thing. Bro, why are you always depressed? Because I have depression? Just have fun. This is how a lot of people behave. And a lot of the time people really mean well. And I've even said things like this to other people when they've been in situations that I haven't been able to relate to. I had a friend who had selective mutism. I remember one time being like, just talk. And I really, really loved that friend, and I really, really wanted to help her. And I think I felt like I was being really helpful. I think I was trying to think of advice that I could give her and ways that I could help her. And all I could come up with is, well, I just talk, so you just talk. And I couldn't comprehend, well, like, no, not everybody's exactly the same as me. And I think that's where it becomes difficult, because we're all in our own heads. That's the only head we're ever going to be in. We have our one experience of the world. It's really difficult to comprehend that other people might have different experiences to us, but we have to try. What is up with neurotypicals and saying we need to hang out but never going through with it? I'm at a point now where I just hate making plans, because I feel like the chance of them actually going through is like 50-50, if not less. I think people just say it as something to say to fill the silence, or because they feel like they should be meeting up with you, but then maybe they actually don't want to. I get really confused when people are actually able to maintain good adult friendships. Finland is kind of an autistic dream. People don't do that over here. If they say they want you to come over, they want you to come over and expect a genuine response. And chilling out on your own is also normal. Finland looks so great. Like, schools there, I keep seeing little videos. The British media loves like going to Finnish schools and saying, look how much better they are than ours. And you know what? They are a lot better than ours. Somebody says people do. Okay, yeah, people do still do it in Finland, actually. Okay, spells broken. I saw a neurotypical person on TikTok explain how most of this stuff they say is just politeness, but in the most surface level way possible. When they say they're going out to eat pizza, it's a hidden way of saying, hey, I don't want to get rejected because I don't know your plans, so I'm saying this to see how you respond. If you say, yeah, have fun, I'm going to take it as you being busy. If you say, oh my god, yeah, I love pizza, I'm going to take that as a possible acceptance to go out with me. That would be really weird. If I messaged somebody and I said, I'm going out for pizza, and then they responded with, yeah, I love pizza, I would feel like, why are you inviting yourself along? Why are you inviting yourself along? I don't know. I get it. I can get the feeling of like not wanting the rejection and feeling like you want to ask somebody to do something, but then you don't want to assume that they're actually going to want to do it. I've definitely had times like that before where I'm like, I'd quite like you to come along, but I don't know how to say it. Yeah, so I can get that a little bit. Basically, NTs suffer from, I don't want to get rejected, so I say the most puzzling stuff ever as a hint. I mean, I do that too, because I think a lot of autistic people, and ADHDers as well, we have this, you know, rejection sensitivity dysphoria, rejection sensitive dysphoria, however you say it. We're very sensitive to rejection. I don't know whether there's some like intrinsic reason to being neurodivergent, or whether that's because of a history of rejection in childhood due to being a bit different. I'm not sure what it is. I do think maybe that's kind of relatable to me a little bit. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like more videos like this to come your way, you can support me over on Patreon. My stomach is rumbling. I hope you can't hear that. The lowest tier is $4, and if you join that, you get access to the Discord server where you can chat to other neurodivergent people or people who are questioning whether or not they might be neurodivergent. And you can also get 2 exclusive videos every month. I do one where I respond to questions sent in by patrons. It's kind of like a advice column, an agony aunt sort of thing for whatever my advice is worth. But then I also do like a reaction one. The next one is reviewing Orion Kelly's book, Autism Feels, but there's loads of one there already reacting to all sorts of different things. If you want to see more neurotypical people who may or may not be okay, then click the link on screen or the link in the description to check out my video that I did about the whole dispute between autistic adults and autism moms, which I'll leave linked on screen and in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon.